This is a photo of Tim Connolly. Tim is someone who I would consider underrated, because despite the success of the Denver Nuggets, Tim has never been named Executive of the Year. In fact, last year he barely cracked the top 10. And well, since he took over as general manager in 2013, it's safe to say the Nuggets have had some success in the draft. I think we could all agree. Nikola Jokic, Jamal Murray, Michael Porter Jr., a late round still like Monte Morris, just some success. But most of that has been covered in depth. Maybe aside from Monte Morris, but if you want to know my opinion on Monte Morris, he's fantastic. He's fantastic. I love Monte Morris. But apart from those guys, I want to focus on players that haven't probably been covered as much because it's a lot more recent. But again, they're looking like some steals, and it is Zeke, Nargi, and Bones Highland from the last two drafts, two late first round picks, again, that aren't just proving to look like steals for the future, but guys that are actually impacting the team right now. And that's not an exaggeration. Two of these guys have been incredibly crucial to the team's success this season and are going to continue to be, which is why I wanted to make this video. Now, before I go any further, these are different kinds of videos, so I don't know how well they'll be received. It's up and down a little bit. So if you do enjoy this kind of video, drop a like on it. That's really the only way I know how to tell. If you're new to the channel, if you like Nuggets content or any kind of NBA content, I make a lot of both. So again, subscribe, drop a like. That would be much appreciated. But let's not waste any more time. Initially, I was just going to cover Zeke Nargi because if you haven't been paying attention, he is currently the best shooter of all time, alongside Jonas Valanciunas, of course. But yeah, Zeke Nargi has been lights out, which we're obviously going to talk about. But another guy that I needed to talk about, because I don't think I've really talked about him in depth, is Bones Highland, because he's been fantastic as well from the most recent draft. And despite missing the last couple of games, Bones has genuinely been the most important piece for this Nuggets team off the bench this season. And that is impressive for a rookie guard, and everything he's doing is very impressive for a rookie guard, so that's worth talking about. The first thing I would say when it comes to Bones is he's a guy where the numbers don't do him the justice. 8 points, a couple of assists, and rebounds a game in just over 15 minutes is definitely impressive for a rookie, for sure. If you double those minutes, well, you're looking at someone who's really productive. But the efficiency doesn't look fantastic. It's a lot better than what you would think when you actually consider he's taking about 5 threes a game. Most of his shots are coming from beyond the arc. He's also proven to be a really good free throw shooter so far early in his career. Small sample size, but so far. But just outside of that, this man genuinely has a spark and energy that he brings to the game. I know it's something that you can't really measure, although there are some measurements there that I will get into, but also just the energy and the playstyle that Bones has is really important for a Denver team that has sucked without Nikola Jokic. They have been terrible. They were terrible before Bones got injected into the lineup, before he got those serious minutes off the bench and became pretty much their lead guy as a bench guy, because they were struggling to score. They were struggling to do anything, create offense. And what Bones has been able to do hasn't just been score, which we'll talk about because he can score the ball, as you can see here.
Oh, this one's a deeper. Oh, Bones Highland.
But it's also his ability to play make. And I think that's definitely his most underrated part of his game. He's someone who's already shown he can play make in the pick and roll. He's got this combination of making really nice passes. There's one pass that he made to Zeke Nargi behind the back, which I could not find, but if you could find it, it was an incredible pass. One of my favorite passes of the year in general. It was fantastic. But passes that I actually could find, I'll put up here. And as you can see here, Bones has a really nice ability to read the defense and make intelligent reads, but also partner that with a little bit of flair and an ability to break down the defense with a handle, and also his pull-up shooting, which just leaves the defense on their toes. And that's what you get with Bones. He does a little bit of everything and has shown that the flashes are there. The flashes of a playmaker, the flashes of a really good shooter, and maybe a really good scorer are there. He's just been fantastic to start the season for Denver, and he's been crucial because if you look at what he's doing, just look at the plus minus. Just look at the plus minus of the bench, and you see that Bones, out of all the guys that are playing serious minutes alongside Zeke Nargi, have the best plus minuses, and it's not even close. And this started when Bones got injected into that bench lineup and started getting those serious minutes. And since then, he hasn't really looked back. I talked about his passing. I believe that's really underrated what he can do, and I'm excited to see what he can be as a playmaker going forward. But something that is a known quantity right now as well is his scoring. He's already producing 8 points a game. He's already had multiple 15-plus point per game performances, and a lot of it comes from his shooting. You saw against Miami, he had multiple deep threes. I think 3 of them in the game, where it was just like, if you've got that kind of range, if he's shifty as well, which he is, he's got a nice handle. If you can play make as well, which he can, and if you can shoot from the mid-range, which he hasn't been the most efficient from the mid-range, but I expect that to be better. He's 94% at the line so far. He's got a very nice stroke, pause, but he does have a very nice shooting stroke. And I expect him to be a 3-level scorer, which he's shown in flashes. His name is Bones for a reason. He still is quite slim, so he's not the greatest finisher yet, but he's still pretty good. He's shifty, he's got a nice handle, and as a scorer, there's not much not to like. One more note, aside from the numbers, aside from what he's doing for the team, I think it's sometimes important to note that it's nice when these guys have a really good personality and character, and what I've seen from Bones in interviews suggests, like, the man, he's a good guy, okay? So I know it's just a minor thing maybe, but I don't think it is, because you look at Denver, and they've got a lot of guys that seem like high character guys, and he just adds to that list. So what he's doing as a personality, on the court, off the court, I think that's important as well. So Bones has just been incredibly impressive, and another guy who's been incredibly impressive, I don't know if he's got the same ceiling as Bones, and that's not because of their age, because Zeke Nargi is actually a year younger at just 20 years of age, but I just don't know if I've seen enough overall from his game to suggest he might have that same potential. But the thing is, the beauty of this is, he doesn't need to. He doesn't need to. What I've seen from Zeke Nargi is perfect. That's the prototypical guy alongside Nikola Jokic. If he becomes a little bit of a better defender, which he's already proven to be a solid defender, someone who can switch onto a couple of different positions. He's pretty strong in the post against bigger guys as well. So I haven't seen anything to suggest he's a bad defender, but if he can become a really good defender, obviously Aaron Gordon is the guy you're looking at right now as someone who's just the prototypical guy alongside Jokic as a defender, but as an offensive player, you could argue it could be Zeke Nargi, considering what he can do as a shooter, and considering he is absolutely lights out right now, and this stretches back to last year as well. So far in his NBA career, he's nearly 50% on nearly 100 attempts, so it gets to the point where, what do we consider him as a shooter? Do we just consider him as someone who's going to be 40% from 3? It's still early days. He's not going to be 60% for the entirety of his career. Otherwise, well, of course, he'd be prototypical alongside Jokic. But if he can continue to be a 40% three-point shooter and continue to show off some decent defense, and with the second unit, he's running the pick and roll with Bones and showing that he can be a roller and he can be aggressive inside, that's all you really need. You don't need him to be a star, because you've got the superstar there. You've got the likes of Jamal Murray. If Bones develops into something, then who knows, Michael Porter Jr. In Zeke Nargi, you're really just looking for someone that can play minutes with Jokic and without Jokic, and be impactful with Jokic, mainly as a shooter and as a defender, and without Jokic, do a little bit more. And that's literally what he's done. So that's perfect. So he might not have the highest ceiling. He might. I don't know. But all I'm saying is, right now, even if he just makes subtle improvements, that's really all you want. And that's what I've seen from Zeke Nargi. So that's why I've been really impressed with him as well. And I think it's just another fantastic move for the Nuggets to get 2 guys in the space of 2 years that are already contributing at a high level for this team. I showed you the plus minus. If you watch the games, you see the impact these guys are having. It's winning the Nuggets games. It is winning the Nuggets games, because they were losing a lot of games based purely off their bench. Now, sometimes they still do slip up because of that, because most of the time when their starters are in there with Jokic playing, they have a lead, or at least they're in the positive. But with the bench, they were struggling a lot. These 2 guys have come in as first and second year players, and it's made a huge difference. They've just made a huge difference, and that's why it's worth talking about, because Tim Connolly, someone that doesn't really get brought up in the same conversations as Sam Presti or Masai Ujiri or Rob Pelinka, but he has done a fantastic job in Denver, made the Aaron Gordon trade, picked up Will Barton again, who's been great. All of these moves, and then an additional 2 draft picks in the last 2 years that have been fantastic. RJ Hampton as well, that was traded for Aaron Gordon. They don't seem to miss rounds in Denver, and I'm just happy with what I've seen from those guys. Those guys are looking like 2 absolute gems, which is nothing different for the Nuggets, but it's been under the radar from what I've seen, and that's why I thought I'd talk about it. Have a good day.